Hey you, this is Jasim from CodeBand, and in this video we are going to be automating form submission. So I have talked about this automatic form submission in the first video of the Python automation series, and it's kind of a very useful feature that I have used a lot of times, and especially during this COVID times where we have 10,000 entries at a time, and we just need to submit that data, and without the script it would take hours to enter or submit the data, but with the script it'll just take some minutes and with no effort at all. So that's what we are going to be discussing in this video, and it's super important to know these steps because one day or the other you might be able to, or you might be encountering this kind of automatic form submission scenario. So with that, in this video we'll be covering three important topics other than what we have learned so far in this series. The first one being fetching or reading data from an Excel file or Excel or CSV, whatever it be. Fetching data from that, it's a most important task before actually submitting the form, because the data is always important and we need to just grab the data. We might need to process it before we actually submit that data. So the first important thing, the fetching data from an Excel or CSV file. Now the second one is handling various input fields. So till now we have already met with a lot of input fields, like the basic ones, the text and the email and stuff like that, but we haven't met with the radio buttons or checkboxes or the select drop downs and stuff like that. So we'll be actually handling those kind of inputs in this video, and that's the second most important thing. Now the third one is also an important thing. In some cases we might want to use it, and that's nothing but the execution of JavaScript. So we haven't done that, and it'll be useful if I show you that as well. So with that, now let's actually jump into the video. But before that, if you are very brand new to this video, I highly recommend you to watch those previous videos in the Python automation series, because there I talk about the introduction, installation and stuff like that, and I'll not be explaining those steps again. So just go watch that. The links will be, or the entire playlist link will be in the description section. So watch that and come back in here. And with that being said, if you are very brand new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe my channel and click the bell icon near to it. So without any further, let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so we are back in the VS Code, and this is our basic boilerplate, the steps here. So now you might notice that we have a new website here, so I'll quickly show you what it is, and it's nothing but this one, the Selenium form. This one is the one I have made just for this video, and it has got some fields like name, email, gender. Now remember, the gender is a radio, so we'll end up handling this radio. And the interested languages, it's a checkbox, so we can have multiple, and we'll be handling that as well. And the third one, working status, very important, it's a select drop down. So we'll be handling these three things very importantly, because we have already discussed how to handle the text-based inputs, and so it's simple, it's dead simple, but these three things we need to give a little bit more care for that. And also we'll be using some JavaScript and reading CSV, Excel, all those steps. So this is the website that we are going to be submitting the data to. Okay, so with that, back into the VS Code, and I'll quickly show you the Excel file. So I'm using an Excel file here, the data.xlsx. So you can just find this the data in the GitHub repository. I have put the link in the description section so that you can just get that data .xl file here. So it has a couple of fields or rows here which I have hard coded, and which has those fields, gender, languages, and working status, and this would be what we'll be submitting to the website that I have shown. So yeah, that's what is the basic setup, and I have the main.py where the script will be, and the data.xlsx will be in the same directory as well. Now, if in your case the data might be different, then it's of course up to you, or it might be in different formats such as CSV. I'll show you how to handle the CSV as well. And yeah, with that, let's actually start to write some code. So the first and foremost thing that we need to do is fetch the data. So the read all the data from the Excel file, from this file, read all the data here. So that's what the first task is. So in order to get around that, we have a couple of options. We can just use the core Python without any libraries. We have some methods for that, but some built-in libraries for that, but we'll be using an external package or library called Pandas, which is a very good package, and it's valued by the data scientists in the field of data science. So it's a kind of worth grabbing the stuff of Pandas. So we need to actually install that package. So for that, first what you can do is I can just say pip3 install Pandas, just like that. So if you're a Windows user, just pip would be enough. Pip install Pandas, and the name is this one, Pandas, just like that. And in my case, it's a requirement already satisfied because I have already installed it. Now the next requirement is XLRD, just like that, XLRD. So it's a kind of helper package that is required by Pandas in order to read Excel files. So if you're using a CSV file, you might not need this package, but if you're using an Excel file, this would be required by the underlying Pandas library. So I'll quickly install that as well, XLRD, just like that, and it's installed again. Now with that, everything is perfect. Now we just need to read that data. So before we actually jump into the browser stuff, I'll quickly read that. It's very simple. Maybe I'll name this as data frame. Now it's a kind of data structure in Pandas, and the name is up to you. And data frame is a concept in or a data structure in Pandas, just for the information. Okay. So data frame, or maybe you can say DF to be short, is equal to PD. Sorry, before we actually use the Pandas, we need to import that. So import Pandas as PD. Now this one is not required, even though as PD, because if it's not there, we can just use Pandas every time. So in order to be short, then what we can possibly do is we can just give it a placeholder as PD. So df is equal to pd dot, and there is a method called read Excel. Okay, read Excel is a method there, and what you have to do is just provide the Excel file. So xlsx, this is the file name, data.xlsx. So this is it. This will actually read that file and gives us the output. Now, if you're using a CSV file, then it would be like read CSV, just like that, and you just provide data.csv or just your file name, and that would do the trick. So in our case, it is read Excel, and then what we want to do is we have read the data. Now I'll quickly show you the output that's being generated. So this one would return as a data frame, and in order to grab the data, I'll quickly show you some things. So df dot iloc. So iloc is an attribute here. Now iloc will fetch the data based upon the position. So back into the Excel data, this one would be, so by default the read Excel method will just discard this first row because it would be considered as the header, and it's exactly the header in our case as well. So it will start counting from the second row here, and the iloc method takes in the position. So position 0 means it's the first row here. I mean the second row in this case, but it's actually the first row. But the index is always starting from 0. So this is 0th row. This one is the first, second, third, and fourth. So that would be the fashion, okay. And if I say like that, df.iloc of 0, I'll quickly print that out. Then you can see that. So I'll just print just like that, and if I run the code, then you'd see that you'd see the output. So Python 3 main.py, and what do you know, we got that. Now it's giving the full name John Doe, which is exactly our first row here in this case, with having an index of 0, the position to be 0. Now there is also another method called lock without the I, which means based upon the index. Now the index is not what we have seen, like it's not the 0, 1, 2, but instead it's the kind of thing in the data frame, data structure, the keys, I like the keys in the dictionary. So in our case, we don't have an index, explicit index. In our case, it's again the same thing, 0, 1, 2, 3. We don't have an explicit index in this case. So this would also works fine. Now you don't have to bother about all these steps, because this would make much more sense if you're dealing with some data science pipelines or so on. But in this case, we have just the motive to read the data. So you can either use lock or iloc, but iloc would be preferred, because that's what it's based upon the index, okay. Index in the sense it's based upon the position, okay, and in this case the position and the index are the same. So you can either use iloc or lock, that's up to you. So I'll quickly print that out, and you can just see the same exact output being rendered, okay. So that's what it is, how to fetch the data from that Excel file, okay. Now this is simply hard coded, right, based upon the position. If you're using iloc, it's based upon the position, first position, second position, and so on. But we need a more robust solution. So what we can do is I'll quickly print something or another thing called index. Now this is the index of the data frame data structure. So if I print the index, then you could see that it's a range index starting from 0 to 5. Now this is automatically given by that underlying the data frame data structure. So it starts from 0, stops 5, and step 1, which means the 5 will not be taken. So up to 4, 0 to 4, and it essentially means this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's it, okay. So we get this index so that we can just loop through this index and find that corresponding row by using iloc or lock method. So what I meant by that is we can just say for I in df.index, and then this is actually 0, 1, 2, the index, and index essentially in this case is the position. So we can just use something like iloc or lock. So print the data frame.iloc based on the position I'm using. Now we can absolutely use lock, and lock will get that by index, and iloc is by position. But in this case, it's the same thing, and we could just use lock here. So lock of I, which means this would actually be 0, 1, 2, so it'll actually fetch all the things. So if I run the code, you can see that everything is being printed here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and everything is there. So that's totally working. So this is the logic that we are going to be applying throughout this the form submission, okay. So I'll just quickly get rid of the print statement out here. I'll just uncomment this stuff, the browser stuff's there. And then I'll move that for loop at the bottom, okay. So we have read the file here, and then what we need to do is we just have the basic setup. We have the basic website here. Now what we'll do is we'll just loop through that. So for I in df.index, we'll take each of the rows in the Excel file. So we'll take this one and submit, then the other one and submit, and so on, okay. So at first what I'll do is I'll quickly say entry is equal to df.index, df.lock of I. So it'll just save that or it'll just instantiate this entry to be the corresponding rows. So 0th row, first row, and so on. So you can just access by that entry, okay. So df.lock of I. Now what I can do is I'll quickly show you the output so I can see the website as well. So Python 3 main.py, open up the browser, and it goes to Selenium from here. Now it actually starts to implement the kind of the submitting the form. So as far as the name and email, it's probably familiar to you. You can of course do that by now because you have watched all those previous videos and you're comfortable with it. So here's a quick challenge for you. Just grab these two and as far as the giving that the data from that file we read to that form field is that part I will show you. Just grab this based upon the selectors that you have learned. So it's a quick challenge for you. Post the video and give it a try. So I hope you managed to do that. So in our case, what I'll do is I'll quickly inspect that, and I'll just say this one, and its input type equal to text and name equal to full name. So you can just fetch that by that name. So I'll say is equal to name input is equal to, and it's browser dot find elements or find element by name, just like that, and it's full name there. And I forgot to zoom this out. It might not be as visible to you. It's full name, as you can see. And then what we are going to be doing is also before we actually submit the data, we will actually fetch the other one, the email input as well. So email input is equal to browser dot find element by name, and let's actually check the name there. So it's the email part, this one I believe. So yeah, it's input type equal to email, name equal to email. So I'll quickly say email, and we have fetched that. Okay, now the important thing is how to submit that data. You know, we just printed those data in the previous print statement, right? So you can see it's in the format full name, Homer, email, and gender. So there is a key here. You can see full name, email, and stuff like that. So this is what is the index, what I meant by index. Okay, so we can just grab that the name based upon the index here. Now the index is the concept in the data frame data structure, and not the 0, 1. The 0, 1s are in this case I refer to as position. Okay, so you just forget about that, and I'll quickly explain you what I meant by that. So what I can possibly do is name input dot send keys, which we have done so far, and now we need to send the key. So we have that row level data in the entry, right? We have this in this case it will be first row, second row, and so on. Now entry, if we print the entry, it will give something like this one, right, as you can see here. So in the name input, we need this full name attribute here, right? So for that I can just say entry of, and just the column name here, so it's full name. So entry of full name will do the trick. So full name. So remember that the name is matching with this one, whatever you provided in your Excel file. It's very important, otherwise it would fail to fetch that. So entry of full name will give you the value Homer Simpson, which is what we want to send to that name input, and that would do the trick. Now similarly, a quick challenge for you, just grab that just like this one, and just send that keys into the email input. So in my case, what I'll do is email input dot send keys and entry of, and entry of, and this is the field name, the column name, so entry of email, just like that. So it's okay, it's perfect. Now we need to concentrate on the other parts, the gender, interested languages, and working status. So the gender, it's fairly simple. It's a radio button. So if I quickly inspect that, I'll go to the other tab here, this one. So if I inspect that, you can see that it's input type equal to radio, input type equal to radio. The name is same gender, and value differs, MF and 0. So we just need to grab that gender based upon the value in the Excel. So based upon the value here, we need to just grab the radio button. If it's male, then we need to grab this radio button and just click on that. If it's female, we need to grab this one. If it's the other one, we need to grab this one and click. So it is based upon the value prop here, value attribute here. As you can see, it has M and F and O. So which is exactly what we can see here. So Based upon that, we need to grab the radio button, the radio input. So for that, what I'll do is we'll quickly show you how to do that. So there are a lot of ways of doing it, but what I tends to do all the time is by using XPath. So by using XPath, we can just dynamically grab that element. So what I will say is maybe gender XPath. So I'll show you what I meant by that, by how to generate that XPath. So I'll use f strings so that we can have dynamic content in that string. So f string, then XPath would start with double / and then we are targeting that input, because as you have seen, it's at the end an input type equal to radio and name equal to gender. So we are targeting an input, and it's a kind of, we have that name, right? So the name is gender, and as you might have seen there, the name is equal to gender. And now I'll make this as I'll escape this double quotes here. If you want to use double quotes inside double quotes, then we need to escape that. So escaping is very simple with a \. Just give a \, and it'll work. Okay, so just give that \, and now we need to target based upon the value. Okay, so based upon the value, we need to target which radio button I have to choose. So it's like M, F, and O, and this comes from that Excel file. So what I can possibly do is at value is equal to, and now I need to dynamically generate that value. So I'll use curly braces here, and the value is nothing but what is being in the entry. Okay, in the entry we have gender field, which is that M. So based upon that, I'll just grab that radio button. I'll just grab the corresponding radio button. So here I can just say like entry and of or the name here, the column name is gender. So I'll just say entry of gender, just like that. But before I actually move into the other part, I need to escape this double quotes here as well. So with that, everything is perfect, and this is the XPath. So based upon the row value, if it's M or F, it'll automatically, this gender XPath will automatically changes, and accordingly the gender, that input radio will be taken. So we just need to actually take that input. So gender input is equal to, as we already did that, find element by XPath, and the XPath is gender XPath we have generated. So it will take approximately or accordingly to that the dynamically submitted gender. Okay, now we need to just click on that gender input so that the radio button is selected. Okay, so just click that and it will just work fine. So this is what it comes to the radio button logic. And with that, now the next thing we have to take care about is the interested languages, which is a checkbox. So I'll quickly select that by using the selector. You can see that it's input type equal to checkbox, and name is equal to lang1. Here it's lang2, lang3. The value is equal to Python, PHP, JS, just like that. So we have a couple of information here. If you go to the Excel data, you can see it's Python, PHP, space PHP, Python, space JS, and so on. It's comma separated value, right? So we might end up doing or parsing that by using some helper methods, but instead we'll be using our own method, just a simple line, just splitting out based upon that comma space would be enough. So we'll not be going into any other third party or libraries or internal libraries as well. So what I can possibly do is, again, what the logic is based upon the same stuff. So first of all, I need to grab that data here, this data, and split that data so that I can get a list of items. So something like this one I'm targeting, something like something like this one. So it'll be like Python and PHP. Okay, so this one at the end would what I want to get is a list of 2 items where we have Python and PHP. This is what I'm going to be getting at the end. So in order to transform that, what I will do is I'll just say maybe I'll first fetch that interested languages string. So basically this one is a string. You can see JS comma PHP. This is just a string, okay, just something like this one, JS comma PHP, just like that, okay. So we need to split that string so that we get a list of items. So I'll say language, I'll first fetch that string, interest language str is equal to the string will get from entry of, and this name here, entry of interested languages, just like that. And now what I want to do is I'll just say langs, or I'll just name it langs. It's about you can use anything. Langs is equal to, what I'll do is I'll say interested languages dot split. So we're splitting that based upon the comma space, okay. Now comma space is this one, so after a comma we have a space, so we're splitting it based upon the comma space. So we'll get these two values, JS and PHP, in a list, okay. So the split will just split that and return a list of items, and that will do the trick. So these langs will now be having in the first row it will be having something like this one, and second row will be having accordingly, it will always return the string of that interested languages, not string but the list of interested language. So with that, what I can do is I'll quickly loop through that. I'll just say for lang in langs, just like that, for lang in langs. Now what I need to do is I need to fetch that checkbox here. So I need to fetch this checkbox input here dynamically based upon the value. So the value now here is the lang iterable here, or the iterator here. So based upon that, I need to grab that. So again, it's fairly the same thing that we need to implement. I'll just quickly copy and paste that, and I'll just change the names there. So it's not gender, it's the languages, maybe language XPath. I'll make this as language XPath, but before that I'll quickly select all these defs, all these gender, and I'll just make it as language, okay, just like that. Language XPath is equal to, now the XPath depends, so it's again an input, as you might have seen, it's an input, but the type is checkbox, and the name actually it depends. So the name is dynamically changing here by lang1, lang2, and lang3, but we are not interested in that name. What we are interested in is the value, okay. We are based upon the value, we are clicking that checkbox, okay. So the name does not matter here, but what I'll do is I'll say types. In order to be precise about this checkbox, I'll say type equal to checkbox, okay. So type equal to checkbox, just like that, and value is equal to, this one now is nothing but the lang here. So it'll be value is equal to PHP or Python, because langs would return a list and we are looping inside that list, so we get that individual value. So I can just say lang, just like that, and it will fetch accordingly that checkbox. And then what we are doing is we are just fetching that based upon the XPath, and then we just click on that element. So this would also work fine. Now we'll test all those things at the end so that we can save some time. So this is done. So I hope you got that idea of how we actually did that. We just split it up, that string based upon the comma space, and so that we get a list of the languages, and we loop through that languages, and if that language is there, we'll fetch that checkbox and we'll just click on that. Then we'll take the next language if it exists, and so on, okay. So that's the procedure. And now the last thing is the working status here. So working status, it's a select box. I'll quickly inspect that and show you. It's a select, and we have a couple of options here. So the select, for selecting the select option, we have a couple of options, and the ID option is given in the documentation itself. So if I go into this link here, this is the official Python Selenium documentation. I'll put the link in the description section to this one. So you can see that we have a select class implemented in it, okay. So I'll quickly show you what I meant by that. I'll quickly import this line of code here, this one from Selenium WebDriver UI, import select. So at the top I will just import that, and now what I can possibly do is, as in the documentation, it's saying select equal to select of, and we just need to pass in that element, okay, pass in that select tag, okay. So it's fairly simple. I will quickly name this as maybe status select because it's based upon the working status, right? So status select is equal to, I'll just say browser, or maybe I'll say in this fashion, directly in this fashion, select of. So select, and it's with a capital S because it's what we have about at the top, the class select. Okay, select of. Now we need to pass in that reference. Okay, the tag. Okay, so find element by, maybe we'll use the name itself, and let's actually check if that would work. So we can see that there is a select with the name of working status. So I can set that by using that name only, working status, just like that. And this is the same thing that we have done based upon the documentation. Now we have a couple of options. We can just say select by index. Okay, now what this does is it will select that an item from that drop down. So it will select by index, select by visible text, or select by value. So select by index is based upon the position, I believe. So based upon the position, this is the first position, second, and so on. I'm not pretty much sure if it's 0 based index or 1 based index. Maybe you can have a try, and most of the times we have to use these two things. I haven't personally used this one, so that's why I have this confusion of whether it starts with 0 or 1. You can give that a try. So what we'll be using is these two things. So select by visible text. So the visible text is actually this one, okay, the full time here. Between that option tags we have this stuff. This is the visible text. Now there is also another thing called to select by value, and that's nothing but the other one, okay, the value equal to, okay, it's based upon this one. So in our case both are fine, both works fine because both have the same thing. In other applications this would be different, so they can just make it with the visible text, or you can just make up with the value. That's up to you. Okay, so I'll be using maybe selecting by visible text or value. We can use select by value, although both works fine. So what I'll do is status select dot select, okay, not select by value as such, this one, okay, select by value. So select by value, and then what you can possibly do is we need to pass in that value. Now that value is based upon this one, okay, what we have in that Excel file. So it's based upon working status. So I can just say like entry of, and I'll quickly paste this one here, the key here. So entry of working status, I'll get rid of that extra spaces there, and that's it. It'll automatically select that for me. So you can of course use select by visible text, and that will work fine. And you can just check out that select by index. You can just experiment that as well. So with that, everything is done. Now the only thing remaining is just to submit the form. Okay, so submitting, it's fairly simple. You can just grab this input type equal to submit button, and you can just click on that. So it's again a quick challenge for you. You can just grab that and submit. By now you have definitely that knowledge of how to grab that as well. So in my case, what I'll do is I'll quickly say submit button. I'll show you an alternative way also how to submit the form without actually fetching the submit button and clicking. An elegant way is still there. I'll show you that, but before that I'll show you the basic one. So browser.find element by CSS selector, and I'll say like it's an input tag with the type equal to submit. Okay, so type equal to submit. Okay, just like that. I can confirm that. Yeah, it's input type equal to submit. And then what I'll do is I'll just say submit button dot click. Okay, I'll quickly run that, and I will show you some other method of submitting the form, more elegant method. But before that, I'll quickly show you whether this works. Okay, so at the end, I'll quickly make a sleep of maybe 4 seconds so that we can see whether that's correct. Okay, so yeah, with that, let's actually run the code. So yeah, it's opened. So I'll make this one to the left of the screen along with this one here. so you can see whether that's correct or not. So I'll make this a little bit smaller. So yeah, we can see that it just filled out those stuff. So John Doe and john@admin.com. It's a male, so it selected radio button, and he has interest in Python and PHP. Working status is full-time. Everything works, but it doesn't submit the form, right? So there is some potential errors there. So we'll quickly go into the script, and you can see list object has no attribute tag name, line number 34. So yeah, this is not browser.find elements, but it's just find element, because we're just targeting that status select, just that status select, not a bunch of those. Okay, so I'll quickly I'll quickly close the other one, the other shell, and then I'll make this smaller, and then we'll just run the code again. So I'll make an input tag here. I mean, before we actually starts to type in those values, we need to split those two into two windows, the Excel and the browser. So I'll make an input here so that I can control it. So python3 main.py. So it opened up that stuff, and I'll make this one in the left, and I'll make the Excel in the right. And now I'll quickly make this one, an input. I'll just type in something, and there is also some errors. So time is not defined. Okay, so again I'll just say import time, and this time it should work. I'll quickly get rid of the steps here, and I'll make this smaller again, and I'll run the code, and then it opened up, and then I'll make this to the left and make that Excel to the right, and I'll just type in something and click enter, and what do you know, it just says success over there, but I'm not sure whether it's submitted or not. So yeah, our time.sleep is not working as expected, I believe, because it doesn't wait for a 4-second gap. Let me quickly show you that. Now there is some potential errors. Maybe I'll get rid of the input there, and I'll get rid of the script as well, and then I'll run that again. So time.sleep, it should work. Yeah, we have saved the stuff, and yeah, now it starts to submit, but it only yeah, now it's submitting. Okay, but the time.sleep doesn't seems to, yeah, it works actually, but we put that time.sleep after submitting the form, so we need to make it before we actually submit. Okay, otherwise what it'll do is only after submitting, only after that the content is gone, it will wait for 4 seconds. So yeah, this would be totally fine. Now I'll make that maybe I'll make this input at the top, so that each time we don't have to type in something. So now this would just work fine. I'll quickly get rid of all these other tabs, and I'll show you once again. So python3 main.py, and now it opened up. Now I'll make this to the left, and the Excel is not there. Now that's because Excel is in full screen, so I'll make it small, and then yeah, I'll make this one to the left, and I'll make the Excel to the right. Okay, now I'll quickly type in something, and then you'll see John Doe, everything is there, Python, PHP, and now you can see this one changed. Jane Doe part-time, Olive is intern, he's interested in PHP and JavaScript, and again an intern. The Bart Simpson is a male, and what do you know, everything is working perfectly fine. Okay, everything is submitting, and we got a success message, and we are pretty much done with it. Everything is intact, everything is working as expected. The gender, the languages, the working status, everything is totally working fine. So with that, the kind of things is over. We have learned how to how to read Excel, how to handle radio, checkbox, select and all. And the important thing we are left with it is the submitting the form. I have told you another elegant way of how to submit that form. So it's nothing but very simple. We can just targeting any of the input elements. So in this case, we can target a name or element or something similar. So what I'll do is I'll just say email input. I'll just grab that email input, and I can just call in submit here. Now what this does is the Selenium will automatically fetch the form which is the wrapper or which contains this email input. So it will automatically find to which form this belongs, this email input belongs, and it will just submit that form accordingly. Okay, so this is a kind of elegant way of doing it, because it's sort of more, it gives you more more elegancy or the readable code. Okay, so let's check if this actually works. So I'll just quickly run that. So it opened up that website. It starts to it's not filling in stuff, so there will be some issues. No, so it should have done that, but it's not. I'm not pretty much sure why. Yeah, that's because we have that input, right? So I'll quickly get rid of that for now, and I'll just type in something, and now you can see that it's filled, and again it's filled. Okay, you can see that it's submitting the form, even though we just changed that logic to be in a more elegant way. Everything is working as expected, and that time.sleep is making some delay between the alternate submissions. Okay, so it's working, that's it. And now the important thing we have left behind is the JavaScript, executing JavaScript. So it's again very important, executing JavaScript. There are times that in which you might find this very helpful, because you probably you are encountering such issues, and you might need this JavaScript executor at those times. Okay, you'll find that when you actually do some more projects, and you'll end up doing that JavaScript executor. Okay, so I'll quickly show you how to use JavaScript to submit this form. Okay, just not just submitting, just clicking this button. Okay, we'll be fetching this submit button, and we'll just click that submit button by using JavaScript. Okay, so I'll go back to the previous code. So this one, submit btn, I'll quickly get rid of the input again, and we have that submit button being fetched. Now instead of clicking in this fashion, we'll just show you how to use JavaScript to click that button. Okay, so it's fairly simple. What I can do is browser.execute script. There is a method called execute script, and inside you can see the first argument is the script itself, and the second argument is the args. Okay, so I'll quickly show you what I meant by that, or I'll quickly show you the things, and then I'll start to explain. Now this looks weird at first, but it'll make sense when I actually explain that. Okay, so I'll say like that, and then what I'll do is submit button. Okay, so what this does is, this is the script that will be executed, just pure JavaScript. Now here you can see arguments of 0. Now this refers to the submit button. Okay, so whatever we pass in as the next arguments here, it'll be catched to the arguments list, and of 0 will target the first one which has the index 0, and in this case it will be the submit button. Okay, so if we are having some other stuffs here, then arguments of 1 will be this one, and arguments of 2 will be the other one, and so on. Okay, so submit button here is the arguments of 0, which essentially means submit button dot click. Okay, it's just pure JavaScript, submit button dot click, and it will just click that element for you. Okay, now let's check if this also works, and I'll quickly run, and so they can see that if it runs. So yeah, it's filling up the things, and now it will wait for 4 seconds and clicked. Okay, so it is working perfectly fine. So it is clicking that, and the inputs are changing. So it's perfect with the JavaScript. Now this is not recommended in this case, because the things already work with the other one, right? Things already work with the submit button dot click, okay, in the normal fashion. So this is the recommended way, but there might be times when you are forced to use the JavaScript executor, and that's why I have showed you that way as well. So with that, we have completed our video or a task of automatic form submission. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any doubts or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed my channel yet, please don't forget to subscribe my channel and click the bell icon near to it. And there's also one more information that I have created, not just now but maybe 1 or 2 months before. I have created some WhatsApp and Telegram groups, community groups, the code band community groups, so that we can just share and learn and grow each other. So you can just post your doubts or post your suggestions or some technical talks, everything in that community. And the links for that Telegram and WhatsApp groups will be in the description section. Please feel free to join. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like the video and share it to your connections as well. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the very next one.